The Vorthak had ruled the hunting grounds of the Andromeda Spiral for 3,000 cycles. Their homeworld of Kethmore was a nightmare realm where acid rain fell from purple skies, and crystalline predators hunted in packs through forests of razor-sharp obsidian trees. Only the strongest survived to adulthood, and those who did became the galaxy's most feared mercenaries and hunters. Standing 8 feet tall with chitinous armor plating and retractable claws that could slice through starship hull plating, the Vorthak had earned their reputation through blood and brutality. Their leader, War Chief Zethkalar, bore the scars of 1,000 hunts across his mottled green hide. He had personally claimed the heads of the last crystalline queens of Proxima 7 and brought the mighty siege bears of Titan's Edge to extinction. Today, however, something had gone wrong. Zethkalar crouched behind a fallen tree trunk, his breathing ragged and uneven. His hunting party of 12 elite Vorthak warriors had been reduced to just 4 survivors in less than 6 standard hours. They were being stalked by creatures from a recently discovered death world called Earth, a planet so hostile that even the Galactic Council had classified it as uninhabitable. The humans had arrived in the sector 3 months ago in ships that looked like they'd been cobbled together from scrap metal and determination. The galaxy had dismissed them as another primitive species that would either be enslaved or exterminated within the year. The Vorthak hunting clans had seen them as easy prey, soft, weak creatures from a backwater world. They had been catastrophically wrong. A twig snapped 30 meters to Zethkalar's left. His compound eyes swiveled, searching for movement, but saw nothing. The humans were invisible, moving like ghosts through terrain that should have been impossible for their soft, unarmored bodies to navigate. The war chief's thermal sensors detected nothing. His electromagnetic scanners found no trace of technology. Yet somehow they were there. Another of his warriors, Kortham the Bonebreaker, had vanished an hour ago. One moment he had been covering their flank with his plasma rifle. The next he was simply gone, as if the forest itself had swallowed him whole. They found his weapon later, carefully disassembled and arranged in a neat pile, but no body. No blood, no trace. "War Chief," whispered Veltar, the youngest of his remaining hunters, her voice trembling through the comm system. "The humans, how are they doing this? Our world makes theirs look like a nursery habitat. We should be superior to them in every way." Zethkalar had been wondering the same thing. Earth's gravity was lighter than Kethamore's. Its atmosphere was less toxic. Its predators were smaller and less armored. By every metric the Galactic Hunting Guild used to measure combat effectiveness, humans should have been helpless against Vorthak warriors. A sound echoed through the forest, not quite animal, not quite mechanical. It was a human voice, but twisted into something that made Zethkalar's chitin crawl. They were calling to each other across the canopy, coordinating like a pack, but using sounds that bypassed every translation protocol in his neural implants. "They're not hunting us," Zethkalar realized with growing horror. "They're playing with us." The humans had weapons, certainly. They'd glimpsed advanced energy rifles and projectile weapons that fired metal slugs with devastating accuracy, but they weren't using them. Instead, they employed traps that turned the environment itself into a weapon. Snares made from local vines that triggered rock slides, pits covered with branches that dropped Vorthak warriors onto sharpened stakes carved from alien wood. Simple tools wielded with terrifying ingenuity. But worse than their tactical adaptability was their endurance. The Vorthak had been fleeing for 6 hours and they were exhausted. Their armor was heavy, their breathing labored, yet somehow the humans kept pace without seeming to tire. They moved with a fluid efficiency that spoke of evolution on a world where persistence hunting was a survival necessity. A new sound reached Zethkalar's ears. Soft footsteps on forest floor, barely audible even to his enhanced hearing. He raised his plasma rifle, scanning the tree line, and finally saw one of them. The human was smaller than a Vorthak youth, maybe 6 feet tall with pale skin marked by strange pigmentation patterns. She wore simple clothing that somehow blended perfectly with the alien forest. No armor, no visible weapons. She stood in plain sight, 40 meters away, watching him with eyes that held an intelligence far older than her species' brief existence. "You are Zethkalar," she said in perfect Vorthak, her voice carrying easily across the distance. "War Chief of the 73rd Hunting Pack, Slayer of the Crystal Queens." The War Chief's finger tightened on his weapon's trigger. "You know me, human. Do you know what I'm going to do to you?" The human smiled, revealing small white teeth that should have looked harmless compared to his razor-sharp fangs. Instead, that smile sent ice through his veins. "You're going to try to kill me," she replied calmly. "You're going to fail. Then you're going to run. And when you can't run anymore, you're going to understand something important about evolution. Which is, on Earth, we weren't the strongest predators. We weren't the fastest or the most heavily armored. We survived because we were the most adaptable. We learned to use tools to work together, to turn every environment into our hunting ground." She tilted her head, studying him like a specimen. "Your people evolved to be apex predators on a single world. We evolved to be apex survivors anywhere." Zethkalar fired his plasma rifle. The bolt of superheated energy struck exactly where the human had been standing, vaporizing a section of tree trunk. But she was no longer there. "Evolution," her voice whispered from somewhere behind him, "favors persistence over power." By the time rescue ships found the surviving Vorthak hunters 3 days later, they were broken creatures hiding in caves and jumping at shadows. Zethkalar had aged decades in those 72 hours, his proud chitin now scarred and dulled. The humans had let them live, not out of mercy but to carry a message back to the galaxy. Earth had arrived, and the hunting grounds would never be the same. Within a month, 3 major Vorthak hunting clans had disbanded. Within a year, humanity had been offered membership in the Galactic Mercenary Guild at the highest tier. Not as prey, but as the apex hunters they had somehow always been, even on their supposedly gentle little death world. The galaxy learned that day that being the strongest wasn't enough. You had to be the smartest, the most adaptable, the most persistent. You had to be human.